Hi, my name is Kristen Weeder, and for my second ConLaw video, I chose to review Barnes v. Glenn Theaters, Inc. In this case, the plurality held that the enforcement of the public indecency statute to require that dancers wore pasties and a G-string did not violate the First Amendment, and I agreed with the plurality's holding. In analyzing the present case, the plurality agreed that the erotic dancing was expressive conduct, although it was only marginally, so they said it was on the outer bounds of it. I initially had trouble seeing how nude dancing was expressive conduct, but when I read the opinion, I agreed that the dancers may be expressing some sort of sexual or erotic message with their dancing. The plurality used the O'Brien test when they analyzed the case to determine whether the Indiana statute was valid. The O'Brien test is a four-part test, as we've learned, and I'll go through each of the factors in turn. I agreed with the first factor, which was that the government regulation must be within the constitutional power of the government. To aid their decision, the plurality looked into the history of public indecency statutes in the state and throughout the nation as well. In the state, public indecency had been held as a criminal offense at common law. There were several statutes before that had addressed public nudity and banned public nudity, and across the nation, 47 states had banned public indecency. So they used the history of the nation and the state to hold that the government was within its constitutional power because they had done it before, and I agreed that because there had been no problems with the public indecency statutes before, that they were within their constitutional power. The second factor was that the regulation must further an important or substantial government interest, and I believe that this is also met. The government, again, using the factors before, the government's trying to demonstrate that it is furthering a substantial interest through showing that it has furthered that substantial interest before. Public indecency and public nudity is what they're trying to ban, and they show that it's a substantial interest by showing that it's been important to them before, they've regulated it before, and I agree. Justice Souter in the concurrence talks about how the state also has an interest in combating the secondary effects that come along with adult entertainment establishments. Some examples of these are prostitution, sexual assault, and other criminal activity. And I don't believe that this is as important a government interest as there was no evidence in the case that showed that there were secondary effects that came with the nude dancing. I believe this was addressed more in Renton and more important in Renton, but in this case it wasn't as important. So I think that the public nudity and the public indecency is really what the government's going after, and that's their substantial interest. The third factor was that the government regulation must be unrelated to the suppression of the free expression, and I think that this is also met. I agreed with the plurality. And the plurality says that they're trying to regulate public nudity, not the erotic dancing. In this case, they said that the expressive conduct was the erotic dancing, and the state's not looking to regulate the erotic dancing. They're just simply looking to regulate the nudity, so therefore the regulation is unrelated to the free expression, which is the dancing. The nude dancers argue that the state is trying to regulate the public nudity, and instead of trying to regulate the public nudity, they're trying to prevent the erotic message that the dancers are trying to portray with their dancing. And I disagreed with this because the dancers expressed that the only reason that they did not want to wear the pasties and the G-string is because they felt that they would make more money. Therefore, I don't think that what they're trying to get across is an erotic message. I think what they're trying to do is just make more money with their bodies. And while that's fine and I respect that, I don't think that that amounts to the expressive conduct that we're looking for in the third factor of the O'Brien test. The fourth requirement says that the regulation must be no greater than what is essential to the furtherance of that interest, and I think that's easily met. The plurality says that the addition of pasties and a G-string is the bare minimum that they could add, and I agree with that. The difference between being completely nude and a pasties and G-string is very minimal. It's not as if the state is asking them to put on full clothing or asking them to wear, sweaters when they're dancing and cover their bodies completely. They're just trying to take away what makes them nude. So I think that the regulation is no greater than essential, and I agreed with plurality on this case. So in conclusion, I agreed with plurality. I thought that they were correct because they addressed each of the O'Brien factors in turn, and I thought that this was met. Thank you.